The hidden map of Elmswood Manor. It was the summer holiday, and like every year, the cousins gathered at Elmswood Manor, a sprawling estate that had been in their family for generations. Every summer, they eagerly anticipated their time here, where adventure seemed to seep from the very walls of the old mansion. But this summer was different. Something awaited them, hidden deep within the manor's secrets, and it was something none of them could have predicted. There were 4 cousins: Max, Lily, Tom, and Sophie. Max, at 14, was the oldest and fancied himself the leader of their group. Lily, his 12-year-old sister, was as smart as she was curious. Tom was 13, Max's rival in every way, with a head for daring plans. Sophie, the youngest at 10, had a knack for finding things others overlooked, and though often quiet, she had a knack for surprises. They had explored almost every inch of Elmswood Manor over the years, except one place: the attic. It had always been locked, and their grandmother, Granny June, insisted it was just full of old junk and family relics no one had bothered with in years. But that didn't stop the cousins from wondering. Why had it always remained locked? What was Granny hiding? One rainy afternoon, the cousins were gathered in the library, trying to decide what to do with their day. The rain was relentless, drumming against the tall windows, and it seemed to lock them inside as effectively as the attic door itself. "I'm so bored," Sophie moaned, flopping onto the old leather sofa. "We've already done everything." Lily, who was flipping through an old book, glanced up. "Not everything," she said mysteriously. Max looked at her suspiciously. "What do you mean?" Lily leaned in close, her eyes gleaming. "The attic." Tom sat up straight. "But it's locked. How are we supposed to get in?" Lily smiled, a grin that made Max shift in his seat. "I overheard Granny talking with the housekeeper. She said the key to the attic is hidden somewhere in the house." Max raised an eyebrow. And Lily continued, "I might have seen where she put it." The others exchanged glances. This was the sort of thing they lived for: mysteries, clues, hidden things. It was decided. They were going to find the key and unlock the attic. The 4 of them split up, each taking a part of the house to search. Max and Sophie headed to the grand hall, while Lily and Tom went to the study. Sophie, though young, had a sharp eye, and she quickly spotted something odd about the large grandfather clock that stood at the end of the hall. It had always been there, ticking away solemnly, but today, it seemed slightly ajar, as if the door to the clock face hadn't been closed properly. She tugged at Max's sleeve and pointed. "What is it?" Max asked, kneeling down to look closer. "It's open a little," Sophie whispered. Max pried the door open, and, nestled inside the clockworks, was a small brass key. They both stared at it, hardly daring to believe their luck. "We found it," Sophie exclaimed. Max grabbed the key triumphantly and ran to find Lily and Tom. "We've got the key to the attic." They regrouped outside the attic door, the key gleaming in Max's hand. He slid it into the lock, and with a satisfying click, the door swung open. Dust swirled in the air as they stepped inside, the room illuminated only by the dim light filtering through the small round window at the far end. The attic was cluttered with old trunks, boxes, and forgotten furniture draped in cobwebs. Lily's eyes lit up. "There's so much stuff in here. We could be up here for days." Tom, ever impatient, moved toward a large trunk sitting by the window. "Let's see what kind of treasures we can find." They began opening boxes and trunks, revealing old family portraits, letters, and objects from a time long past. Max was sifting through a pile of old papers when he found something that made his heart skip a beat. It was a map. He carefully unfolded it, revealing a hand-drawn layout of what appeared to be the grounds surrounding Elmswood Manor. But this was no ordinary map. There were strange symbols drawn in the margins, and one spot near the edge of the estate was marked with a large red X. "Guys, come look at this," Max said, holding up the map. Lily, Tom, and Sophie gathered around, staring at the parchment. Tom's eyes widened. "Is that treasure?" Sophie looked up, her voice a whisper. "Do you think it's real?" Max ran his fingers over the map. "There's only one way to find out." The next morning, the rain had cleared, and the cousins were ready to explore. They set out early, the map clutched in Max's hand, and followed the path leading toward the marked spot. The manor grounds were vast, with overgrown gardens, hidden paths, and thick woods surrounding them on all sides. According to the map, the X was located in a clearing deep within the forest that bordered the estate. It took them nearly an hour to reach the edge of the woods, and another half-hour of hiking through the thick underbrush to find the clearing. When they arrived, they were greeted by a strange sight. In the center of the clearing stood a large stone monument, weathered and covered in moss. It looked ancient, far older than the manor itself. "This wasn't on the estate map," Max said, puzzled. Tom ran his hand over the stone, searching for any clues. Maybe the treasure's buried underneath. Sophie, ever the observer, noticed something odd. "There are symbols carved into the stone," she said, pointing. Lily knelt down to inspect them. They matched the ones on the map. Max unfolded the map again, comparing the symbols. "You're right. But what do they mean?" They spent the next hour examining the monument, trying to decipher the symbols. Finally, Lily spotted something they had missed before, a small, hidden compartment at the base of the stone. It was barely noticeable, camouflaged by the moss and dirt. Max pried it open, revealing a small, weathered box inside. With trembling hands, he opened the box. Inside was an old, yellowed piece of parchment and a key. The parchment contained a riddle. Asterisk, to find what you seek, follow the trees. Where shadows dance and whispers breeze. The path ahead will twist and bend. But only the brave will find the end. Asterisk. The cousins exchanged excited glances. This wasn't just a treasure hunt. It was a full-blown adventure. They followed the clues, which led them deeper into the woods. The forest seemed almost alive, with the trees creaking and the wind whispering through the branches. As they walked, they began to notice strange markings on the trees, more of the same symbols from the map and the monument. "The trees are guiding us," Sophie said softly, her eyes wide with wonder. The path twisted and turned, just as the riddle had said. At one point, they had to cross a narrow stream using a fallen log, and at another, they found themselves navigating through a thick patch of brambles that seemed determined to keep them from passing. But the cousins pressed on, their excitement growing with each step. Finally, after what felt like hours, they emerged into another clearing. This one was smaller than the first, but at its center stood a stone pedestal. On top of the pedestal was a small, intricately carved chest. Max approached it cautiously, half expecting some kind of trap. But nothing happened. He reached out and lifted the chest's lid. Inside was something that took their breath away. Gold coins, jewels, and a crown gleamed in the sunlight, their beauty undiminished by time. It was the treasure they had been searching for. Tom let out a whoop of triumph. "We did it. We found the treasure." Lily, ever practical, examined the chest more closely. "These coins are really old. They could be worth a fortune." Sophie stared at the crown, her eyes wide. "Do you think it belonged to a king?" Max smiled. "Who knows? But it's ours now." The cousins returned to the manor as heroes, carrying the treasure with them. Granny June was astonished when they showed her what they had found. "That old attic has been hiding secrets for centuries," she said with a laugh. "I had no idea there was a treasure hidden on the grounds." The treasure was eventually appraised by experts, and it turned out to be a collection of priceless artifacts from centuries past. The story of the cousins' discovery spread, and soon, Elmswood Manor became famous for its hidden treasure. But for Max, Lily, Tom, and Sophie, it wasn't just about the gold or the jewels. It was about the adventure, the thrill of the unknown, the excitement of discovery, and the bond they had formed along the way. As they sat together in the attic that evening, poring over the map and recounting their adventure, they knew one thing for sure: this summer would be one they would never forget.